competition.
Yeah, it says I'd smoke that.
That's perfect. How
We're
applicable.
live. All right.
In living color. I gotta text my fam. Yeah. You gotta.
Yeah, I'm sharing it right now.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, I'm sharing it right now. What's going on, our two viewers? Here we go.
No, I don't want to cast it.
Hello, and welcome to the Screen Addicts podcast. The new look Screen Addicts podcast. Kind of new, kind of old. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I am one of your hosts, Chris, Mrs. Chenandler Bong Viegas.
I am Cinema Central Perk Sosa.
Man.
You know, it's funny you were talking about how an old look, but new look, but old look. This is definitely a very old look because this
Episode
hasn't
one
happened
look.
since this hasn't happened since episode 1 of the show all
Yeah.
the way back. Golly, how many have we done so far? Over
Over
270, I think.
yeah.
Something like that.
Over 4 years, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time since this has been me and you. And for any
Yep.
viewers out there, as you know, we are short one Jerome Marshall. He is, as
He's
mentioned
working.
in the previous episode, he had to take a super important but yet time constrained position, an IT position. So, and from what he's been telling us is that he really enjoys it. So
Yeah.
that's all that matters. He's making the De
Absolutely.
Niro. So.
That's right. Maybe he can be one of our sponsors one of these days.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna start his own computer company and he'd pay for everything for us.
That's right.
What
That'd
a
be
good
perfect.
friend that would be.
I know we've already spent his money for him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man. Well, it's been a couple weeks, but we're back, and as you can tell from our nicknames and the screens in the background, we're going to be talking the Friends reunion show a little bit today, as well as other shows that we think should get some reunion love, which, we were both kind of hesitant on this reunion show. Everybody wanted a series or wanted new episodes, but the way they were coming out with it, it was just, them getting together and talking and reliving some old memories and stuff, which I think it worked out really well. Really, really well. And I loved it. I cried. Yes, I cried. It was sad. We'll get into it here in a minute a little bit more, but before we get all there and everything, we're gonna go ahead and kick the show off just like we always do with our recently watched. And since there's just two of us, I'll go first with what I've been watching, which hasn't been much lately. It was a pretty busy weekend for me. We were out in Oklahoma City doing barbecue or steak competitions and stuff. So didn't
How'd you
really
do?
get much. Got my ass whooped. It was great.
Oh no.
But I'll tell you this. This is the second one that Tasha has come with me to.
Oh, nice.
And man, it's just so much fun when she comes. It's it's a whole new. It relieves stress of me worrying about her and the boys if I leave them and stuff like that. So
Sure.
it was nice to have her there, and I hope she gets to come more often. Now that it's summer, especially, and she's off. So, but it did watch a couple things. Obviously, I watched the Friends reunion show. I also we're still on our my little kick of American Housewives. Which is still funny, man. That lady just cracks me up every single time. If you love like dumb comedy shows and just to have something on in the background, I definitely recommend this show. I think it's 5 seasons on Hulu right now, and it is just so freaking funny. It reminds me a lot of some of the things that I actually go through. In life, man, just the way they tackle some of the things they're going through and everything. So it's funny to watch and listen. It's almost like listening to your thoughts out loud and acted on screen.
That could be pretty scary sometimes.
Let me tell you, man. There's even an episode, man, where the dad of the show is wanting to build a grill and be a man and this and then. I'm like, oh my god, that's how this all started for me.
Someone owes you rights, property, character rights.
Oh, absolutely. So I've been watching that still. We are on we're caught up with Grey's Anatomy. We've been watching that one still, which that one, man, it needs to end already. Jeez, it's like half of the main like characters from when it started are like more than half. I think there's only like 2 or 3 left that are still on the show, and it's like, oh my god, just put them out of their misery already.
Right. Like Old Yeller.
Jeez, yes. So, but we're still watching it because we've invested so much time. So, yeah, there's that. Oh, look.
Oh my gosh, is that Jeremy?
I believe so.
It has to be that. It has to be Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes we can't tell on the user comments on here, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it, man. Like I said, I've been pretty busy with work and stuff lately, so I haven't gotten much screen time. But I look with summer here and the boys off and Tasha off. Definitely look at getting some more screen time in here soon. So if anybody has any suggestions of some good shows to start watching with the boys, definitely hit me. Let me know. Drop it in the Screen Addicts page or the group. That would be great. Oh, and I can't forget this because I did watch this season finale, and I kind of talked about it a little bit on our Facebook group. Zoe's playlist.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, like they took this thing and they turned it and they put something at the cliff as a cliffhanger of this second season, and I'm usually pretty good at kind of guessing what's gonna happen, predicting the shows and stuff, but they put a spin on this that I didn't even see coming at all, and I was like, wow, that is freaking genius. It is so good.
You know, that show's quite revered on our fan page because people talk
is.
about that show quite a bit, and you're not the only
Mm-hmm.
one. So, and I know it's in the queue. It's waiting to be watched. It's on my Peacock watch list. Just haven't pushed play yet, but
Oh man,
I've
once
heard
you push play, you're not gonna want to
that's
stop
it, huh? I heard it was really
Yeah.
good.
Man, the music in it. I mean, the whole thing is pretty much a musical TV show because she's listening to people's inner thoughts, and most people, well, she hears their songs of what's on their mind and their heart. So, you know, the whole show is just a big musical. And sometimes when you get into those musical type of shows, they sing these songs that you don't really know or not very popular. not this show. It takes all the popular music from today, the classics, and it incorporates them into a way that you just wouldn't think. So it's really, really good, man. You need to push play on that. Really
Well, you know,
quick.
that kind of reminds me of the first season of Glee, for example. Like the first season of Glee
Mm-hmm.
did that. It incorporated music to help elevate the story. But then once it blew up and became super popular, then they were just basically throwing in whatever music or song that was popular at the moment rather than having the old song tell the story. They were telling the story around the song, which kind of
Yeah.
seemed like a mistake. I was going to ask you if they had original music on there, or if they did covers, or how that
It's
worked.
all
but
covers, so
mhm.
I mean,
but of
man,
established songs, though,
oh
right?
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely, and you catch yourself singing along to it,
of
and you're
course.
like, oh man, and
Yeah,
it
it looks
plays
good.
well into the story. It flips it, kind of like you were saying how Glee started, like
Hmm.
the song plays into the story, not the story plays into the song. So,
Right.
um, speaking of Glee, and just real quick off topic on this, what was your favorite cover that they did in that series?
Oh man, on Glee, jeez, there were so many. There were so many that were like, oh, "This is stupid," but then there was some that were just so good. You know what's funny is like episode one when they hit "Don't Stop Believing," that kind of set the precedent for the whole series, and that's
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the best. You know, I will say like in one of the later seasons, I really enjoyed "Home" by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, just because I love that song so much, and how
Mm-hmm.
they used it in the series was so good. Um, I don't know. What about you? Do you have one in mind?
Oh,
I'm sure you have one in mind.
I have two
Okay.
that are just like, oh. So when they had Neil Patrick Harris on, and he did Dream On.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Oh man, that was so good. And then the cover that they did for uh, the "Come With Me" and the Willy
Oh, Willy
Wonka song.
Wonka. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
thought that was
man.
really good too.
Well, their whole
Love that.
Christmas episode was good too. Jane Lynch's cover of Mr. Grinch was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at a catalog because man, that show's been off the air for I want to say like it's 7 or 8 years. It's
At
been a
least
long
7 or 8
time.
years,
Yeah,
and
it's been a while.
two cast members have passed away since.
Yeah, that's pretty. And then Mark Saling, he's been arrested for all the horrendously bad charges that he's facing with child pornography. And I'm just like, holy shit, this show is cursed, man.
Yeah, they are not doing no reunion show anytime soon.
Yeah, when's the Glee reunion? It's gonna be the darkest. It's gonna be Zack Snyder dark.
Jeez, he's gonna direct it. You know, watch.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, that's about it for me. So, Steven, I know since we're one man down, your list can be longer than usual. So,
Yes.
so the floor is yours, my
The
friend.
chains are broken now. I am unleashed. Well, speaking of Zack Snyder, one of the first ones that we watched was Army of the Dead, his Netflix film that he released just 2 weeks ago, I believe, and massive, massive success for the Netflix streamings that it had, and it was okay. I don't know. Did you watch it by any
I
chance?
did, I did.
Yeah. So what'd you think?
Um, it has its good points.
Yeah.
The acting in it is not one of them.
Right.
But you know, I think me and you and Jeremy talked about it a little bit. You know, the new spin on well, not really a new spin on zombies, but just the way they portray them, it'd be a lot more intelligent. Actually, very agile as well.
Right.
And then you know, a zombie tiger.
Oh yeah, I guess we did talk about that. I
Yeah,
couldn't remember where it fit within the timeline of when we last recorded, but yeah, that's right. Because then we were talking about
zombie tiger.
how it was close to 3 hours long, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, since we covered that one, I'll go on to another film that I watched called Greenland. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Greenland, starring Gerard Butler, where he plays a man and his family has been selected in a lottery to come onto this plane because there's giant asteroids that are about to crash into the Earth and it's going to wipe out the population. Very disaster film, if you will, and it was okay. I prefer Geostorm because with a concept as ridiculous as that one, I think it plays better in the most outrageous of circumstances, something like Geostorm. The
Mm.
concept is like all the bad weather's hitting all at the same time. Just something so over the top, I feel like works better for a movie like that. Where Greenland, it was just kind of trying to be overtly serious. I'll say it like this: Greenland is Deep Impact, while Geostorm is Armageddon. So that's kind of the best way that I can put that. And Armageddon is a preference of mine. And
Mm-hmm.
I watched also on HBO Max, mind you, I watched Downhill, which was a movie starring Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Will Ferrell. Now, you would think that two of the funniest people on the planet, two of the most comically revered actors of our generation, or any generation for that matter, would be in a movie that would be one of the funniest movies you've ever seen. No, not in this case. Downhill was a very serious, like not super serious, but I don't know. It was a really odd film. It was from the guys that did The Way Way Back, which is a great movie. Like I love that movie. It plays itself as a comedy, but it's actually a drama. And in this case, they play a couple with two kids that are on vacation in the Swiss Alps or something. And there's this avalanche that's approaching their table. And instead of like protecting his family, Will Ferrell like gets up and runs, leaving them there for the avalanche to just like, and she's like holding the kids, and it turned out to be just a minor thing, nobody was hurt, but it made them question their relationship. It becomes one of those movies, almost kind of like a lighter marriage story, if you will. So it was fine, but when you give me those two actors, I expect just hilarious stuff to happen,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
not the case. Watch the best foreign language film Academy Award recipient of this year, Another Round, starring Mads Mikkelsen, which was a very interesting movie. It was really good, and I have yet to see a Mads Mikkelsen film that I didn't like. But basically, the concept is about four friends that say they do this study where it states that if you have a certain blood alcohol percentage level, you're able to acquire to do crazy things. Like you're smarter, you're intelligent, you're carefree, so you make less irrational decisions. It was just an interesting movie and how it affected all of them. So they start drinking every day at a certain amount of time and they open up, they become alive, and I almost kind of think that it's irresponsible to be making a film like that because it kind of promotes the concept of alcoholism is
A
better
little
for you.
bit, yeah.
But there are some downfalls in the film, and it actually works itself out okay. Watched the new DC animated offering, Justice Society of America World War II. And man, just like all the other DC animated films, it was great. It was the Flash runs through Flashpoint again. He ends up in World War II with Wonder Woman and the rest of the Justice Society of America with, the other Flash and Jay Garrick and Hawkman. It was such a great movie. And of course, I've got to talk about the big release that came out this last week was Cruella.
Mm.
Cruella on Disney Plus. We watched it, and I've got to say, man, it was really, really good. I
So,
was
so you watched it at home. You didn't go to the theater.
No, no, no. Which it is offered on Premiere, or you can go to the theater to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to watch it at home, which is probably good because you know crowds. And Sonya doesn't like going to the movie theater anyway. And that wasn't like one that I had to go to the theater to watch, so I was like, I'm okay with watching it at home. Although it plays itself cinematically pretty well, and yeah, it delivered on every account. It was a little darker than I expected it to be. I was watching, I was like, man, this is pretty dark. What rated is this? And it's PG-13, so I was like, oh, okay,
Right.
well, yeah, that makes sense. It's not
Well,
exactly for kids, but
from what I've heard and read about it, like they everybody's been saying it's like a crossover like, well, it has a very Joker feel to it, and I'm like, man, how that's saying a lot,
Yeah,
you
I mean
know?
I will say this, that it is dark, but not that dark. I
Okay,
mean, Joker is like depressing as hell. But I see
yes,
what the similarity there, as far as what Disney's doing with some of these more dastardly villains, if you will, like they did so significantly with Maleficent, is that they're giving a backstory and understanding and reasoning as to why they become who they are.
mm-hmm.
And in this case with Cruella, you're like, man, this poor girl, like no wonder she grew up to be so messed up, because that's kind of the avenue that they take. And yeah, I saw some complaints about how she didn't have her long stem cigarette holder that she would smoke out of, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess it's a pretty iconic look, but it's just
And
one of
why
those
is
things.
that?
Like, who cares?
Is it a thing that Disney's like doesn't
Well, a
want
lot
to
of
show, or
yeah, a lot of Hollywood studios have are prohibiting smoking on screen. And if you notice on
wow,
some ratings for movies, like it will say as as a parental advisory smoking, which is weird. You know how it'll say violence, language,
right?
smoking, and I'm like, damn, that's pretty
Man,
crazy how,
those people didn't get a hold of Mad Men at least.
no, that show came
Jeez.
out right on time, because they smoke, and I mean that's what they promote, are the cigarettes,
Mm-hmm.
is one of their things in that show. But I need to start that, by the way, and I heard it was really good. I
You
know I
haven't
haven't.
watched it?
No, that was on one of those things where we made a post a couple months back where it was like, what are you surprised, or what are people usually surprised by hearing that you've watched? I can't even talk. What is something that surprises people when you tell them you haven't watched it? And
Yeah.
Mad Men and The Sopranos are usually the two that shock people the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I don't want to watch it, I just never got around to it. As a matter of fact, with Mad Men, I was flying on a airplane from New Jersey to Florida to come visit Sonya and the kids when I was working up north. And one of the shows that was on the television was an episode of Mad Men. So I watched it and I was like, "Damn, this is really good." Even though I didn't really know what was going on within the context of the story, it was a
Mm-hmm.
really good episode. So I was like, I'll have to watch this one day." But
That
yeah, and
day
then I
hasn't
watched.
come apparently.
No, that was like 10 years ago, and I still haven't watched it yet. But oh man, I watched Lawrence of Arabia with Peter O'Toole, the
I was about to
1962
say, whoa, dude,
Oscar
that's like
winner.
throwing it back.
Big time, man. I went to the library, and most people get books. I get movies from the library,
Yeah.
and Lawrence of Arabia was one of them. It was on Blu-ray, so it's like, oh, they remastered it, and it's in full, widescreen. So,
Mm-hmm.
man, the fact that they shot that back a long time ago is pretty good,
That's
as far
impressive.
as,
Yeah.
yeah, as far as foreseeing what was to become. And
Mm-hmm.
man, I'm only in 2.5 hours. It's a 4 hour movie. A 4 hour movie. And it's good. It's just not action packed. I
Mm-hmm.
have to tell myself, like, okay, I gotta watch this like I'm watching a television special or something. 4 hours is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, and I got Sonya to watch Gladiator because she said she hadn't seen it since it came out in the theaters. So I was like, oh well, we got to watch Gladiator. And now that's sending us on this journey of swords and sandals films. So next we're gonna watch Troy, because she never saw Troy, and
Wow.
I love Troy, even though it was like wildly regarded as like a terrible movie. I love Troy,
I mean,
but
it's not the best, but I mean, he's
no.
still Brad Pitt, and
I think
it's
it's
not
funny
horrible.
that it gets a lot of a negative critical reception because of its inaccuracies, if you will. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator, and sure, there's some liberties taken with the story, but Gladiator, it looks and feels more serious. Whereas Troy kind of looks like a popcorn movie. There's
Yeah.
like a big difference there, and
Like 300.
yeah, yeah. Well, maybe not as like comic booky as that, but man, I love those movies though. I
Oh,
can
is
watch
that one going to
300.
be on your sword and sandals list
It
then?
should be, yeah. Now that
It
I think
really
about it,
should.
because she hasn't seen either of them, and she loves Eva Green because of Penny Dreadful, and she's the main character
Mm-hmm.
in part two.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, man, that was about it for me. And of course the Friends reunion, which we'll talk about in a
Hmm.
second. But yeah, that's all I had for this weekend.
Nice, nice. Yeah, there's some good stuff you got around to. Obviously, you watch more movies, and I'm more of the TV guy. But oh man, you really need to get on that Mad Men train soon,
I
my
know.
friend.
That's what I
Oh,
hear.
you'll love it. You will love it. Anyway, all right. I know you have a couple of headlines that you were telling me about. One headline I want to express before you hop into your
Of course.
headlines, though. Today, uh, you movie fanatics, you theater fanatics, you're gonna laugh when I say this. Um, AMC stock. AMC stock went up a lot today.
Hmm.
Just want to throw that out there.
And this is just the beginning, folks. Just the beginning.
Sell it.
No, not yet.
Oh,
Chris,
not yet. Not yet. Okay. Hold.
hold the line, man. Hodor.
All right, man. Go ahead. What do you got for your headlines?
Speaking of stocks, I think if anybody should buy stock in Amazon Prime, they probably should, even though it's probably like $1,000 a share,
Right.
because they just acquired MGM Studios for the low price tag of $8 billion.
Whew.
Now, I know we covered this last time, but what we covered last time was the potential idea of them acquiring MGM Studios, but now it is
Mm-hmm.
a done deal. It's theirs. They own it. They own the entire MGM catalog and all of its films and properties. And man, and it's funny because Amazon Prime is, they had a lot of mainstream films and television series on there already.
Yeah.
It's funny that Netflix seems to struggle the most with acquiring established properties, and I think that they're too busy purchasing certain titles at a time rather than acquiring whole studios, which is apparently
Right.
what HBO Max is doing. It's what Paramount Plus already is. It's an entity of its own. And Amazon Prime has the foresight of saying, "Hey, we want major studios so that way we can have constant uh, property rights over some of these films, like the Rocky series, Creed, and of course James Bond is the number one property that MGM establishes these days, and kind of makes people wonder: are they still going to make James Bond movies, or are they just going to premiere them straight on Amazon Prime? And the question felt like was answered whenever they say no. MGM is still going to be an active studio. It's just under the
Mm-hmm.
Amazon banner, and we're still going to be distributing films theatrically under that label. Kind of like what Disney said and with Fox and Marvel and all of the properties that they own. Oh, dude! Speaking of Disney, I finished the Mighty Ducks. I forgot to talk about that one. The
Yeah.
series, the
I'm
season
only like
finale
three
aired.
episodes in,
All right, well,
so
we'll
I
talk
can
about it
binge
later,
it. Yeah.
dude. That finale was great. I absolutely loved it. You lead to that finale. It ends great on
Wow.
that ending. But anyway, but yeah, that Amazon owns MGM for 8 billion, and
Man, so our Prime is about to get a big steroid shot.
oh yeah, probably, and you might have to pay more for it too, which kind of
Mm.
sucks. But it's one of those things, I guess, and I'm a sucker for that stuff too. I
Oh,
constantly
absolutely.
watch stuff on Prime and on all of them, to be honest with you. But I don't know. We'll see how it
So
unfolds.
with Amazon acquiring MGM, do you think? I mean, some of their original properties already look like huge budget movies and stuff. I mean, with this acquisition, do you think their production value is going to go up even more?
I mean, it'll be about the same. I think the only thing that is a major difference is that if Amazon Prime has original property that they want to release, they can release it under MGM and give it a theatrical run. Because if you notice right now, Amazon Prime films do not have theatrical distribution. That's kind of one
Mm-hmm.
thing that's always disqualified them from any awards contention. I mean, that used to be the case. It isn't so much anymore, but I think if they have something where they're like, well, this should be released theatrically, well, we can release it under MGM Studios because it's a theatrical distribution company. So I guess that allows them the credence to do that, and no
So
pun
we
on
can
the word credence.
so we can actually see the boys movie.
I mean,
Maybe.
if they wanted to extend so far, yeah, it's a possibility.
I mean, they
I
would
mean,
already beat DC what the hell they're doing. So
right. I mean, that
why
seems to be
not?
the case. Well, it's funny because when you watch something like The Boys, and for an example, it looks cinematically like it could be a film. Every
Hmm.
episode looks like a movie. It's like a mini movie. So if they ever did want to make a movie of it, I guess they could. I don't know. It is weird that Amazon Prime's never, because Netflix has had some success in releasing some of their films theatrically. They had Roma, The Irishman, and I mean, it was at a limited scale because they just wanted to be able to qualify for Best Pictures at the Oscar or Academy Award nominations. And but I don't know, like it surprises me that, and the more of these companies that they acquire, I think that's what they're going for. I think they're going to start looking towards uh, company banners to release some of these movies on, so they can have legitimate runs, and they can make more money doing that too. It's
Absolutely.
like HBO Max does that pretty well right now with distributing their movies online as well
Hmm.
as in the theaters. And like, for example, my second headline was A Quiet Place Part 2 came out. And now this was supposed to be released last year, of course, with everything going on. It was pushed and pushed and pushed, and it made like $45 million domestically. Like, it did really well for itself. And so now you're starting to see the lifeblood of the cinema starting to come back. Now something like A Quiet Place 2, the studio could have released it online, for people to
Hmm.
buy it, but they held out because they knew they had a moneymaker right there. And look, they'll be able to distribute it later on, but why not make $50 million on top of what they'll
On
make
top of it,
from a
yeah.
distribution standpoint? And Cruella was number two, but I feel like with Cruella, Disney handicapped it a bit by releasing it on home video versus the box office. So the numbers haven't really factored in, because in my opinion, I felt like Cruella would have been a bigger hit had this gone straight to box office results. But with it being allowed to be purchased at home versus and the box office, it kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
you lost some to the home viewers. I mean, you.
right. Right. Yeah, like there's four tickets that they didn't sell because we bought, $130 ticket at home.
Hmm.
And essentially it's cheaper because it would have been like 40-50 bucks to go see it at the movie
Right.
theater. And speaking of viewers, the Friends reunion had over 100. I don't know if I'm reading this right, but it said 100 billion viewers worldwide. So I'm thinking that's like over a third of the population of the planet. So I don't know. I think I figured that. I think it may be 100 million viewers worldwide. But then again, I
I
thought
don't know, man.
there could be that many people, I guess so when you think about it. Because 100, I don't know. That doesn't seem feasible. Because there's
It
what, like
does to me because Friends is the greatest show ever made. But
maybe it's 100 billion views is what I'm thinking of. I don't know. I need to look at that number again because there's what, like 6 or 7 billion people on the planet. So that would meant that everybody had to watch it like 10 times each. So
and
yeah, I
they
think it's
all
like 100.
used my HBO login.
Right. We all created accounts for them on our HBO Max. But either way you look at it, it was a massive
Hmm.
success for HBO Max. And a lot of people viewed it. I know that within the first hour of its release, over like 10 million people viewed it, which is crazy. It's like they were counting down to see it. And it took us a day or two because I don't know, with like work and stuff going on, we didn't have the time to commit to it until we were both at home. But we did stay up pretty late to watch it because once we got into it, man, we got into it. Yeah, see, world population is almost 8 billion, so it had to have been like 100 million people. That, I don't know where I was reading that. It just embellished, but
Billion.
yeah, 100 billion viewers. But yeah, man, and so it was very much like we had said that it was going to be, very much like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air reunion, where
Hmm.
it was just that. It was a reunion of the friends, and they all worked together, or they all talked to each other, and they said that that was the first time since the show ended that all six of them were in the same room together at the exact same time, which is, I guess that kind of makes sense because if you hang out with each other,
For
off and
10
on
years,
for 10 years, yeah.
yeah. That surprises me because as much as they've talked about how close they became and
Right.
this and that, like I'm surprised that they don't get together. They didn't get together more often. Yeah, I know. Jennifer Aniston, her career kind of elevated after that a little bit more in movies and stuff.
Sure.
David Schwimmer just plays a giraffe. You don't really hear nothing.
Yeah.
You don't hear much from the others. I mean, Lisa Kudrow has one-offs every now and then. You'll see her, but Matthew Perry and
Matthew
Matt
Perry, you
LeBlanc.
definitely don't see anything from. Matt LeBlanc has that one show on CBS that's a pretty big hit right now, that Man with a Plan. And
Mm,
but that was just as of like 2 or 3 years now, and it's still going on. But yeah, prior to that, it's just been a lot of hit and misses. And I'm sorry, but the fact that Joey, that should never have happened. That
oh no,
spinoff, that should
yeah,
never have happened. It was so bad, so stupid. Didn't care about anything else going on. And I don't know. I remember it even watching it. They brought in Matthew Perry as like a cameo, and oh, it was so desperate, reeked of desperation. But
it was, and
did
we
you see?
shall not talk about that.
Speaking of Matthew Perry, I've seen a lot of TikToks and stuff where people have edited out the laughs of when Matthew Perry says, "Oh yeah, I don't hear from anyone. No, I don't ever hear from anybody." And nobody's laughing, and it's just like the saddest thing because you're like, "Wait, is he serious? Is he joking?" Because I don't know if he's being serious about this, because if he's not, that's actually really sad that everybody's just kind of
It
laughing
is
at him.
like I wonder if they did like just a nervous, guilty laugh when that
Right.
happened, and I'm like, y'all are assholes. Like,
Well, it kind of touches on
why?
what you said, though. It doesn't make sense how they were so close. Because, man, I'll
Hmm.
do one show with people and have lifelong friends with them.
Yeah,
Just like one theatrical show. And I still talk to some of the people that I had shows with. But these people were together for 10 years,
yeah.
for just a massive amount of time spent. And yeah, it seems odd that they wouldn't just say, "Hey, let's all go on vacation together. Oh, let's all have a friends trip or something like that." Like it just seems
Hmm.
unfathomable. But yeah, I mean that was pretty sad. Okay, I will say my one harsh criticism on there was, and I think I'm going to go ahead and say that I think it's bullshit. I think it's fake. I think it was done for the sake of the reunion to get people talking about it. And it was the part where David Schwimmer and Jennifer Aniston were trying to talk about how they actually had feelings for each other,
Yeah.
and it just seems so like forced. Like, come
Staged
on,
and
yes, like
yes.
oh really? Oh, because yeah, if they were together, they could have been together. Nothing was gonna stop them. It didn't matter. They were young, they're mid-20s, they're on the biggest show on television. Like,
It
come
was
on.
the 90s. Like,
Right.
yeah, sure,
No
you were
amount
in a
of
relationship.
professionalism.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I thought that
Go
was a
by it.
bit hokey. I felt like they needed some kind of uh discussion points for the show, like people say, oh my gosh, I can't believe Ross and Rachel actually did like each other. You know
Right.
what this made me think of was whenever Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves did separate interviews on Ellen about how they each actually were like, yeah, I actually kind of did like her, and I didn't think she liked me, and vice versa, when they were filming Speed together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very genuine little moment. But then it made me think about that. I'm like, man, because people were talking about that. They were sharing those clips of them talking about each other. And I said, well, it went viral. That's exactly what you want. You want viral moments. As if the reunion needed any kind of assistance going viral. It was already viral. People were already going to watch it. But yeah, that was like the one thing that I was watching thinking,
Yeah.
man, that seems fake. And then they have them doing the scene rereads, which were pretty cool. It was
What I
interesting.
thought was really cool about those is that they were playing those roles just like they were in the show, like
Right.
the same voice tones, the same
Hmm.
everything. I'm like, did they just dub this over because they sound
Yeah.
exactly the
Yeah.
same?
I would have switched it up a little bit, but the scene where Ross and Rachel are reading the kiss scene, the first kiss scene
Mm-hmm.
together, and they look so lost in each other's eye. I'm like, this is bullshit. They're actors, people. They're trying to act like they are reminiscing of this, doing this, and as if they were actually. Oh no, you were the one that got away. I thought that was crappy. I was like, you didn't need that, but it was
Yeah,
fine.
like seriously, are like, and I know this is later in the season, but you know, am I gonna pick Brad Pitt or David Schwimmer? I mean, come
Right.
on.
Yeah. At the time, definitely Brad Pitt. Well, even today, definitely Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
But it's funny because that whole episode of him on the Thanksgiving episode where it played hilariously when it first aired because they were happy and in love and married together. And
Mm-hmm.
but you watch it now, you're like, you asshole. He's like, oh, I hate her. I hate Rachel Green. I'm
You
like, well,
really did hate her.
yeah, I'm like, well, we hate you now. But yeah, it's just kind of funny. Like Sonya can't even watch an Angelina Jolie movie anymore. She just can't do it because that's all she thinks about. She's like, oh, she's a homewrecker. She broke up Brad and Jen. I was like, well, yeah, I guess she technically did. But
So,
um,
what one other part that I thought it was kind of unnecessary in the whole thing because this thing was an hour and 45 minutes long.
yeah, it was almost two.
I'm like, probably didn't need to be that long.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I was like, you could have taken was their little fashion show with Justin Bieber and
Oh man, yeah, like
Cindy Crawford, and I'm like, oh, which by the way, Cindy
right.
Crawford doesn't look like she's aged ever. Like
Oh yeah,
she's a vampire, absolutely.
yeah, she's good. Hey, Sonya was a bit excited about that because she's got such a crush on Cara Delevingne. So
Mm-hmm.
having Cara Delevingne out there, she was out there twice, and then the second was as
Yeah.
the holiday armadillo, which was actually
Uh-huh.
pretty funny. But yeah, I was like, Bieber, what the hell is Bieber doing here? Get the hell out of here! Like you suck, bro. Nobody likes you, and now you're ruining Friends. And I don't know. Maybe that was to pull in the younger demographic or something. Again, as if they needed more people to watch this thing. You didn't have to do these little parlor tricks to bring in all these celebrities. And Lady Gaga, although the Lady Gaga bit I thought was pretty funny, with Phoebe, and where they were they were playing the Smelly Cat together. You would need Doctor Strange to calculate the realities where you choose Schwimmer over Prey. Yeah, I don't even think he could.
And there's only one,
Yeah, there's no ancient scroll that has that text.
right?
But hour and a half did Zack Snyder direct this? Yeah, it was the Zack Snyder cut of the Friends reunion. But I don't know, and I did like seeing some of the returning guest stars.
Yeah.
Like Gunther. That was kind of neat. It didn't look like anything like him. I could
Oh,
walk by
absolutely
him,
not.
and not that he was like older. He just did not look like him. I was like, is that really Gunther? It doesn't sound like it. Tom Selleck coming back was pretty cool. I thought that
Yeah.
was interesting. I mean, the bit fell flat because it was like, what are you doing? And then playing the game over again just seemed like, I don't know. It was just weird. Some of that was a little cringy.
If there was one other guest you could have had back on the show or in the reunion to come back, who would you have liked to see?
Well, I'm glad you said that, Chris, because there was somebody I wanted to see come back, and it was actually two people I wanted to see back, which was Ben and Emma. I thought it would have been kind of funny to
Oh,
see Ben and Emma come back as their current ages and kind of play up like, hey, mom and dad, thanks for sending us to college or something, something to that like. And I know Cole Sprouse, he's Riverdale, but I don't
mm-hmm.
think the other brother does anything, if I'm not
Anything?
mistaken.
Yeah.
But and Emma, the girl who plays her, I don't even know if she's even an actress. I don't even know what she does. But I would have thought, like, man, that would have been pretty interesting to see something like that unfold. Because, I mean, it's a reunion. You talk about your kids at a reunion, so why not bring them up? What about
Yeah,
you? Who would
absolutely.
you have in mind?
Um, I would have liked to see Paul Rudd.
Right. Okay. Yes. Of course.
And I'm
Yes.
like, he ended the show like he was part of the ending, like, and he's Phoebe's husband at pretty much at the end, and I'm like, you don't even talk about him really, and I'm like, oh, even if he was on just like a Zoom, kind of like a Reese was.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have added some funny lines because it's Paul Rudd, you know.
That was that
So
was somebody we were talking about too. Watching, I was like, why isn't Paul Rudd here? Like Mike, like for the very reasons you just said. Yeah, absolutely. That made no sense. I know she talks about him whenever they do the what if or where are their characters now
yeah,
scenario. You know, she mentions his name, and then that's when it kind of like hits. You're like, well, where is he? Why haven't we seen him? Because that was the whole reason why Phoebe and Joey did end up together, because the producers were like, "Oh yeah, we had it planned to write Phoebe and Joey to end up together, but when we knew he was getting his own spin-off series, we deviated away from that plan and gave
mm-hmm.
Phoebe her own happy ending where Joey can continue on being Joey." And I'm like, "Wow, for that one shitty season, way to go. You just ruined
Right.
the perfect triangle here, you know." But
Yeah.
yeah, Paul Rudd
Okay,
was
so
surprising.
leading off of this question,
Yeah.
Friends is great. The reunion show was great for the most part. What other show do you want to see possibly get a reunion show?
Wow, man, that's a good question. You know, I
Not
don't
Glee, obviously. So
obviously not. Yeah, we've established the criminals and deceased figures would make for a very bad reunion.
yes,
Um, you know me, man. I'm always about that Friday Night Lights, having the cast come back, cuz you know, I'm trying to think of shows that started long enough ago to where it would have like a true significant impact.
but
Because
see, this is a thing that I have a problem with Friday Night Lights. I love the show. I know it's your favorite. It's only on for 4 seasons.
well, yeah, I mean 5
Is
technically.
it fine? Is it long enough to warrant something like this, though?
I the
Like, I
reason
think
why
you have to have a certain point to where, okay, yes, it was good enough. It stayed on long enough to have this kind of impact on people to have this kind of show.
I think it does. The longevity of time doesn't bother me because it would be cool to see a Breaking Bad reunion, and that lasted 6 seasons. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
about Friday Night Lights was that the cast was so interchangeable that it really, where do you have the reunion? Do you have it with the season one cast? Do you have it with the season four cast? Because if you're familiar with the show, they do a major series overhaul, and a lot of the main
Mm-hmm.
characters from the first three aren't even in the last two. So it's just kind of like, well, where do you pick? How does that work out? You know, and it would have to be something with a consistent cast. You know, what I mean, like
Yeah.
Friends, same
Yeah.
cast, nobody dropped out, which is another thing that is a pretty good testament to the series was the fact that you know you could see someone who, oh, I don't want to re-sign my contract, I'm done with the show, so they drop out, but then they bring in like a new roommate per se,
Right.
and then you have another cast member in there, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. I think that that Friends works. Seinfeld, but Seinfeld had a reunion, kind of reunion on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like that was the big get of that one particular season where Larry David's rewriting a whole new set of episodes of Seinfeld, and they all came back to make the fake episodes on Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was great because
Mm-hmm.
again, same four, but I don't know. I think you would have to go to a sitcom. I think sitcoms work in this regard because the cast changes. The cast never change. Oh, okay, yeah. Stephen Eford says Married with Children. Yes, same
Yeah.
cast with regardless of Jefferson over the first husband. You know, but Jefferson was there long enough. It would be okay. But again, Central Four. You know, I think
Yeah.
any show that has the same cast throughout its series run works well. You know, like something like the OC probably wouldn't work. Any show like that or One Tree Hill, so many different cast members and
Yeah. And see, when we brought this up, I was thinking, oh, okay, which one of our teen drama shows are we gonna want to pick? And I start thinking about these, and I'm like, just like you're saying, like, who would you bring back though? Do you bring back the main, or do you bring back
Mhm.
how it ends? And
Right.
there's so much difference in between the beginning and the end. You're like, it doesn't really work the way this does.
Hmm.
And so it's like, all right, so this topic and this list kind of got hard
Yeah. Oh,
to
I got one
pick.
for you.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of teen drama, Dawson's Creek. Dawson's Creek would work because you could have
Yeah.
the main four. You could have Dawson, Joshua Jackson, Katie Holmes, and Michelle Williams. That's all you need. Just the main
Mm-hmm.
four, because they did the entirety of the show together. They were all in it to the very end. So I think something like that would work. Anytime that, because like One Tree Hill doesn't work. Because Lucas and Peyton, they even leave. Like the main characters leave, and they went on for
Yeah.
4 more years, man. I'm thinking,
Yep.
man, they did not look back. And I don't know, something like The Office might work because,
The
Steve
Office
Carell,
may work.
I
Yeah.
think that could work pretty well. Steve
He
Carell
was
was
on there
there
long enough.
long enough. Yeah. And they went two
Mm-hmm.
without him. So it's just, I think that could work pretty
And
well. I don't know.
I think you would have enough interest because during COVID last year they did a Zoom thing where they all came back together to like read script. I think they did, or they were just talking.
Something, yeah.
On the cast of The Office, and everybody was all over that. So
I think you've got to look at what hits now. I think
yeah.
when you look at something like Friends, if this wasn't a hit on streaming platforms like the way that it is, this whole reunion concept wouldn't even be discussed. You got to
Yeah.
look at shows that were huge streaming uh successes. Like in The Office is one of them. Whenever a studio like Netflix was pissed off that they lost a series, then you know that they had a huge streaming count. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Scrubs, that was a suggestion made. Scrubs is another one of those shows that, for the most part, with the exception of the last season, the whole cast was the same. Then they did that weird changeover from NBC to ABC where they changed the cast, and it was just really weird. And they went on a whole year with that. But yeah, Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell would be
See, I was
interesting.
thinking that one, but I also thought they've already done one. Am I
Kinda.
wrong?
They did that one thing with Jimmy Fallon where they were all on there, and I guess within the new show, well, even Lisa's not in the new show, and she didn't do the Jimmy Fallon bit either because she's had some psychological issues that she's been having to deal with, and Screech is dead. So I
I was
mean,
about to say,
you
there's
know,
a deceased one too.
yeah,
So.
that would never happen. But I think prior to his passing, that would have been huge for all six of them to come back together and visit. But there was a lot of animosity between Dustin Diamond and the rest of the cast, and
Because
you
his
know,
career choice afterwards.
yeah, and you would think Jesse would have been the most pissed off, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But I think Saved by the Bell would have been pretty big for that.
Well, this one's interesting.
Oh, something like
Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. With Quantum Leap, Scott Bakula, he was in a lot of situations where there was two other people in the cast that were somewhat constant, but every episode he's pretty much on his own adventure. So you could just bring back Scott Bakula, and that's a successful reunion right there.
What about Sliders? You remember that show Sliders?
Oh yeah, with Jerry O'Connell. Yeah, like the
Yes.
poor man's Quantum Leap. I actually enjoyed that. It was pretty good. Sliders was like that. The first season's cast is totally different than the last season's cast, and
Mhm.
I don't even know if Jerry O'Connell even finished that series out. I couldn't remember, but that was a
I
good
don't
show.
think he did.
I
Yeah.
did like that show. Oh, dude, I got it, and I can't believe it's taken me this long. Party of Five, man. Party of Five. Give me my Salingers back.
Dude, okay.
That's it. I'm done.
What about okay? And I'm surprised I haven't thought of this. But what about your Star Trek series, like Next
man.
Generation?
Yeah.
I think Next Generation, you would so get. I mean,
Oh my
your
gosh.
Trekkies would be all over this in the first place.
The fact that they haven't even attempted to get a panel anywhere like Comic-Con or at Star Trek conventions, I know that a lot of them have gone to the conventions, but as an all-inclusive original cast lineup with Patrick Stewart and Gates McFadden, Brent
See.
Spiner, and I guess the notion is that I haven't watched Picard yet, so I'm not sure if all of the cast members have shown up interchangeably on that series. I
Mm.
should probably watch it. I have Paramount Plus. I might as well. And but as far as like an entire next generation cast, yeah, that would be pretty big for that show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, see, and we're reaching on an hour, and we were afraid we were gonna make it this long.
I wasn't afraid. Get me going, man.
Oh man. Oh, dude, is this your episode in the back that you're watching?
Pivot. Pivot. Dude, I'm telling
Okay.
you. See, this season that I put
Oh
on has
man.
like some of the best moments, man. You had Joey's bag, the one where everybody finds out. It's like my favorite
Hmm.
episode. Of course,
See,
the
I was about to
iconic
ask you.
pivot.
I was about to ask you, favorite all-time episode.
Oh yeah, the one where they all find out. That's why I was so happy that they were reading from that scene in the
Mm-hmm.
reunion. I thought that was pretty great because I think that was one of the higher rated episodes of the series too. Aside from the finale, of course, which was like
Mm.
53 million people watched it. But yeah, the
Billion.
billion, 53 billion people watched it in 2003. But yeah, I think that one was definitely one of my favorites. The one where they all play football at Thanksgiving was funny too. Joey and Chandler in the box. Just there's so many,
I
man.
find it hilarious, dude, that they focused on Thanksgiving episodes. They hardly have Christmas episodes. They have one
Yeah,
or two,
that
but
is
they
funny.
really focused on Thanksgiving, and then a bunch of the times you see their Thanksgiving episodes, and then they jump it right into New Year's.
Right? Yeah, they
I'm like,
just overlook Christmas. I guess because they're too close together or something.
that and Ross and Monica are Jewish, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be it. Because they write themselves into a corner. They're like, well, we can't have two people, two characters celebrating Christmas when they're clearly not. And I mean, I did like how they wrote in the holiday armadillo because he's the Jewish symbol of this holiday
Oh
season.
man. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
I think that wraps us up for tonight, everyone. And thanks for sticking in there with us. And we definitely miss our third, but I think we did all right, man. I think we're gonna be okay. Definitely miss him, but we're gonna be all right. But let me tell you this. This also opens us up to have more guests on the show. And me and Steven were talking about it, and we'd love to see if we can have some of the listeners call in. Even I have the ability to call listeners in now, so that would be kind of fun. And I think one of our next coming up episodes, kind of to tease it a little bit, is one of Steven's friends, where we're going to be talking about movies that come from books. Right?
I mean, yeah, books. Yeah, favorite movie adaptations from books
Mm-hmm.
and potential books that you would like to see turn into movies. There's so many avenues we can take with it, but yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to be about.
So be on here in the next couple weeks. We're going to try to get that squared away and everything. So, but that actually does it for tonight. Steven, you got any last words or anything, my friend?
No, man, this is pretty good. I've been catching up on some podcasts that I think we should shout
Okay.
out. There's a new one
Okay.
that they've been giving us love too on their pages and responding to us. It's a No More Late Fees podcast, and it's these
Okay.
two women that worked at Blockbuster back in the early aughts, if you will, around our time period, and just that the way that they pick a movie, review it, and analyze it, it's pretty good. And how their rating system is predicated on video release times. Like, would you keep it for same day rental, 5 day rental? Would you own it? And it's just been pretty entertaining. And they're our age, so it's like they get a true grasp of our perspective of films. And I
Mm-hmm.
told them in a message one day, I said we need to have a crossover because this is great. Like you're seeing eye to eye with us. So I wanted to give them
Awesome.
a shout out. The No More Late Fees podcast.
No more late fees. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
start
man, it's
listening
pretty good.
for sure. I do have one thing to. Or sorry, are you anything else?
No, man, I'm
You
good.
done?
That was it.
Okay. I have one shout out to give, and that's to my oldest. Maddox. You'll be proud of him, Stephen. In the school, he did his first theater play.
Oh, nice. What was the show?
It was actually the teacher had them write their own small play.
Oh, that's pretty good.
He only had like 4 lines in the whole thing. He
Shit.
was super nervous about it, but we couldn't go into the school and watch. Obviously, there's still protocols and stuff, but they did live stream it, and so we got to watch him, and he did really good. I have to say, I mean,
That's awesome.
for being his first time. He did really good. So hopefully, he's gonna continue on his theater journey.
Sounds
Like
good,
his
man.
Uncle Steven.
If he needs tips, I'll ask someone who knows what they're doing.
But guys, thank you so much for sticking with us this evening, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you're watching or listening. Wherever you're listening to us, wherever you're watching us, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when we're coming out with a new episode. And whether it's on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, we're everywhere you can find a podcast. Hit subscribe, and then while you're there, go ahead and hit a 5-star review if you can. Leave it for us. It just helps us get seen a little bit more in the podcast search engines there, if you will. If you're also on the social medias, we're all over the place there too. If you are searching on Facebook or Instagram, just search for the Screen Addicts Podcast. You will find us. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and search there, Screen_Addicts, and that is Addicts is spelled ADDICS. Find us there, and then our biggest platform that we're the most active on is our Facebook group called the Screen Addicts Fanatics. Search that group, find it, become a part of it. That is where we're dropping trailers and movie news and all sorts of memes and funny stuff. Go on there. So join us in our Facebook group. You'll have a blast, I promise. And, I tried to keep up as much with trailers as soon as they drop, posting them. So it'll be a good place to get your first trailer views there as well. So do all that, and then here in a couple of weeks, come back and listen to us again, and we'll be talking about book to movie adaptations. And what is the name of our guest, Stephen? That's possibly.
It is my friend Stephen Eford, but he spells his name incorrectly with a PH. But we're not going to get into that right now.
We'll get into it later.
Yeah, we definitely will.
For sure. But guys, thank you for joining us, and as always, good night.
Adios, amigos.
Good evening.
Have a good evening.